all. We're just kind of waiting for everybody to come back. Thank you, Cody, for hitting record. If you are just coming back, welcome back. Hope there was good conversations happening. Also, it's just really cool to see all the numbers continue to go up. Alrighty, I think everybody is back. Again, want to say welcome to College Possible first career readiness series. We're super excited today that we are partnering up with UpTurnship. So we'd love to just introduce our facilitators for today, which is Brisa and Ellie, but I will pass it over to them so they can also introduce themselves and get started on their presentation. So I'll pass it over to y'all.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tess. Let me share my screen and I will start our presentation. So, yep, me and Ellie are a part of UpTurnships, and while it's loading, it's getting there. Okay, so we're going to talk about internships and just talk about what they are, what they're useful for, and then we'll also get into talking about our program as well. So we'll talk about who we are, and then we're going to do like the 5 W's of internships, so like why, where, when, we'll get into that. And then who UpTurnships is, and then we'll leave time for questions at the end. Also, y'all feel free to send questions in the chat throughout the session if you have any questions, and then we'll have you all interact during the presentation as well. So my name is Brisa. I am a program coordinator with UpTurnships. I went to the University of Texas at Austin, and I graduated in 2019. And that's where I got my bachelor's degree. And then I just recently graduated from the University of Minnesota with my graduate degree this year.
And I'm Ellie. I'm the other program coordinator at UpTurnships. I graduated in 2017 from Purdue in Indiana, just because I know not everyone knows where that is. So yeah.
All right, so let's start off with our who of internships. So feel free to send in the chat or also annotate. If you all don't know how to annotate, I think you just go where it says that I'm sharing my screen. You should be able to click options and there's an option to annotate. Cody, please help me if I'm wrong about that, but that's how you generally do annotate. So we're just going to talk about what students you hear at school that you hear most talking about internships. Who do you hear talking about them? Is it maybe your classmates, or is it your friends, or people that you don't know about, or like what major do you hear them talking about it? Feel free to share where you hear internships being talked about at school. Okay, yeah, and then in the bar on the top of the screen, you can click on view options and then you can choose yes. Your business majors, yep. You hear club members, sure, so people who are part of different organizations, definitely. Pre-med students,
Chase says in the chat, pre-med students, sophomores and juniors.
Upperclassmen, law students, people in their major, sure.
Alfonso says business as well.
Tech, STEM students.
Nursing, nursing. Takua says biology. Students who are in a program that has a track they have to follow, or a senior internship required class.
So you hear a lot of people talking about internships, but the whole thing of it is internships are really for everyone. You don't have to be a specific major, you don't have to be in a specific group or in a specific career path or anything like that. Internships are for everyone. So you don't think that just because I am not studying business, I don't need an internship. They are for everybody, and they're very, very useful for everybody, especially while you're in college and you're still figuring out your career path and what you want to do for the rest of, your whole life. So yeah, thank you all for sharing. And definitely it's also important for those of you who might need one to graduate. Definitely. Hopefully if you need one to graduate, you know who you are. If you don't know, figure it out, because that's really important. All right, so I will clear the drawings and we will keep moving forward. All right, so now we're getting into the next question. Do you know if you have to complete an internship in order to graduate? So you can annotate yours in the chat, or also you can do a thumbs up if you want, I can see that. But who do you know if you have to complete an internship to graduate, or is that not for you? Okay, don't have to. Cool. You have a lot of no's, some not sure's, a couple of yeses, some not required. Don't have to, but one's recommended. Very important, for sure, for sure. For majors, yes, yes. So some majors do require it, especially like how you all were mentioning some business. Some people said you don't have to, but it makes you look really good. That's very true, which we'll get into again. And then for a lot of times, if you do an internship, if you do something experiential learning, you do get college or class credit for it, which is good. Helps you just fill up your credits so you can graduate. And Augsburg students do have an experience requirement. Oh, didn't know that. So yeah, so a lot of times students do need to have an internship or some sort of like learning experience in order to graduate. Some of you all don't, but sometimes you do. And then even if you don't need it, it is sometimes, well, it is generally highly encouraged by your colleges and universities and your career centers to get an internship opportunity of some sort. That way you can get some experience and it just looks really good for you. And then you can also get class credit for that. And it just helps you get like a whole very well-rounded career experience for sure. Career and college experience. So throw that out there again. All right, so then what are internships? We're talking about this sometimes, maybe some of y'all have been like, what is this? What are y'all talking about? So internships are usually short-term professional experiences with an emphasis on learning. So think of them as like small jobs, mini jobs. You kind of just go in, they hire you, you get hired for a position, or sometimes you just kind of you find yourself in an internship. And what you do that you're not meant to just like start working from day one, you're meant to work, but also learn. So it's a really nice way for you to get your foot in the door in a certain field, or maybe in a certain company, or maybe in a certain area. So you just figure that out as you go along. So internships are not just jobs. There's also like some sort of intentionality behind it. So like I said, there's an emphasis on learning. So it's not just you go in and you do your job and leave at the end of the day. It's you go in, you learn, you figure out what this field is. For example, let's take, maybe you want, as an example, you want to do an internship at Google, or maybe you want to work at Google one day. You're like, how can I start getting there? You might learn about their internship opportunities and you start figuring that out. You go through their process and you get that internship, but while you're there, you're learning the company, what Google does exactly, what their day-to-day looks like, what kind of opportunities that they have available. You can learn how to work on Google technology or Google software, something like that. And it's all just learning and learning and learning. And you're generally in these kinds of internship positions, you have somebody to guide you along the way. So you're not just on your own figuring things out by yourself. And then it just really looks good because you're getting that extra experience while you're still a student. And it just like really ups your whole college career. And you can also get academic credit from it, like we were mentioning before. So it's not just you doing something for no reason. You can get academic credit for it. And then sometimes you guys do need graduation requirements to get those. So some of you do know, some of you are not sure. If you're not sure, please check in with your career services center or with your academic advisor because they would know for sure. So yeah, so it's just about getting that work experience, but mostly just learning. You just learn. Personally, I've had some internships when I was in undergrad, when I was in y'all's position. When I was there, I thought I wanted to work in politics. So I got an internship at a US rep's office. And I realized that I really don't like that. I didn't like doing that. So I moved to a different position, I changed my career path. So just emphasizing that internships are not just about learning about a field that you're really interested in. It could be about learning a field that you're maybe not interested in. And that's still really useful and really useful knowledge. So when you do go an internship, don't expect for them to be, oh, I'm working in business because I want to be a business person. And then you get there and you realize that you don't like it. And then you're like, oh, this is a bad internship. No. That's still a good internship. You still got good experience and you learn something about yourself. So it's all about learning. And then there's different things that you can think about or different parties you can weigh in about what internships are and why they matter. So sometimes internships are paid and sometimes they're unpaid. So some of us can afford to do unpaid internships. Sometimes some of us can't. When I did my internship, mine was unpaid, but I was also working part-time, so I made it work in that sense. But you just kind of figure out what it works for you and what you can do. So maybe you do an unpaid internship, but you actually really need an internship for college credit. So maybe that works out for you in that way. Or maybe you don't need it for college credit, but you really, really want that experience, but you also need to get paid. Maybe you do want to get a paid internship. So there's different things to think about when you're thinking about internships. But generally they are paid or unpaid. So it just depends. And you just figure that out as you do more research and you figure that out. Okay, so what internships again? So employers offer internships as a way to search for talent. So let's get back to that Google example. So let's say you really want to work at Google. Google has a certain, like, I know they have several internship programs, but it's a way for you to kind of get your foot in the door with Google, and they can figure out what kind of people they have out there who they can hire for the actual long-term positions. So it's kind of like a long-term interview when you're doing an internship, because you're working with somebody while you're there. They can help you out as you go through each session, each time that you're in your internship. They help you with different projects and they can kind of guide you, but they can also influence maybe if you stay on, if you actually want to work full time there, and they can help you get your foot in the door for future positions. And since you already work at that company, again, let's pretend you're at Google, since you already work at Google, and you have experience at Google and you do apply for an actual full-time job, they're like, oh, this person has experience here already. They know how we work, they know our day-to-day. I think they'd be a better applicant than somebody who's never even had an experience here before. So it just makes you look better in companies or maybe in certain fields. If you want to be a business analyst, and you have experience in a different business company or in the business field, that would make you look better than somebody who wouldn't have that kind of experience. So it just makes you look good. And then also it decreases an employer's risk. So like, again, getting back to the Google example, they know you've worked there, they know you've been a good employee or good intern, so then they can put their trust in you as a full-time employee. So it just makes you look better, and it shows that you have experience and that you're dedicated and committed to your field or to that position or to that company, and it just makes you look super, super good. So it's like each internship or each experience that you get just kind of puts you up like +5 points or like +10 points. It makes you look so much better when you actually go into that full-time job search. Okay, so we did talk about when we were in our breakout rooms, what is our dream careers or our dream jobs. So thinking about that again, what would, in your position now, what is the most important thing to you choosing a job? So let's pretend you're already graduating, you're like, okay, time to look for my full-time job. What is the most important thing to me right now? Would it be high pay? Would it be benefits, like free lunch, maybe healthcare? Maybe you want to work somewhere that has like nap pods. Some companies have that. That falls under benefits. Maybe you want a good working environment. So maybe you want to get them really along with everybody on your team. Maybe you want everybody to be around your age. You can have friends at work, or maybe you want to have a job in a field that you studied. Maybe you're not sure. You just kind of know, I kind of have to get a job when I graduate. That's what everybody told me to do, but I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking for. So you all feel free to send in the chat or annotate the screen again. What is the most important thing for you when you're going to be looking for a job when you graduate? You can click multiple. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to choose one over the other. Okay, so benefits are important for a lot of people. Cool, and good working environment. Having job in the field that you studied. High pay. Good culture. Good working environment. Good that none of y'all are putting, I'm not sure. But it's okay if you're not sure. You learn, that's okay. Work environment, high pay. Ooh. All right, so there's several other factors that go into when you're looking for a job. Maybe you also want to think about if you want to move somewhere else, or maybe you want to live close to your family, or there's a bunch of other things that you can think about. But these are like the main things when you're considering where to work for a full-time job. So each of these things when you do an internship, you can figure out more in depth, if that makes sense. So While you're working at, again, let's go back to Google, you can figure out what their working environment is like. You can figure out if they're really nice to each other at work or if everybody's just kind of mean to each other. You can figure that out in an internship, or you can figure out what kind of working environment you do like. Maybe you go in thinking, oh, I want to work somewhere where I am independent and I do everything on my own. Maybe while you're in your internship and you're doing that, you kind of figure out, oh, wait, actually, I want to work somewhere where everybody's really nice to each other and everybody works together. And you can learn that in an internship. And that's just good information for you to have when you actually go into that full-time job search. Or maybe you get an internship in the field that you get an internship in the field that you studied. So let's say you studied business and you get a business internship. And where there you figure out, oh, actually, wait, I actually don't really like business too much, or this type of business too much. What else can I look at? So maybe you go in thinking I want to do this, but then you go in your internship and you figure out, actually want to do something else. That's kind of what happened to me. And then high pay, that's something you can figure out as well when you're in your internship. Maybe you ask around, you ask your different colleagues at your internship, like, oh, you know, what is your starting salary? Sometimes people are really open to talk to you about that, sometimes they're not. But you can figure that out where you're there as well. And then also doing internships can help you just make yourself look so much better so you can actually get that high pay and leverage that high pay. And then if you're not sure what you want in your full-time job, that's what you can do an internship for. So you go in your internship saying, actually, I'm not really sure what to expect from my full-time job. You go and you figure out, oh, everybody that works here gets free lunch. I really like that. I want to work somewhere that does that. Or everybody that works here gets paid really, really well. Maybe I want that. Or maybe you can say everybody that works here has a job what came from different majors, but they all really like their job. That's really interesting. I'm going to explore that more. So getting an internship is just a way for you to kind of test run what you want in a full-time job for now. So all of you are saying, I want all these things in my full-time job. When you do an internship, you can figure out more in depth exactly which things are the most important to you in that job search. So yeah, just keeping that in mind, I will clear the screen so we can move on. Okay, so again, why you do these internships? Because you learn more about what you want in a career in your internship. So the good thing about internships is that they're short term. Usually their semesters like over the summer or maybe over the fall semester, over the spring semester. Sometimes they can be like a year or so, but they're generally short term. So it's not like when you have a job where you're kind of there forever. They tell you, oh, this is your start date, this is your end date. So you can look forward to your next opportunity even while you're already doing an internship. So you learn things, you learn what you gotta learn, you do what you gotta do, and then it's over. So it's really great. You can do multiple internships throughout your college career. Maybe you can just do one really long one, but you figure it out there. And then while you're in internship again, you can learn more about company culture, like we were talking about. Maybe you figure out, I do actually want to work in a company where everybody's really nice to each other and everybody works together. And maybe you can figure out, I want to work in a company that's actually really small. I don't like working in a big company. I feel like there's so many people and I can't get to know everyone. So you figure that out as well while you're doing an internship. You figure out company culture, what works best for you. And then while you're in your internship, you kind of learn more about yourself as an employee and you can figure out what workspaces work best for you. Like I said, maybe you want to be a leader, more of a leader in your work. So maybe you can learn how to do that more in your internship. Maybe you can take on certain jobs. And maybe that when you go on into your next position, or maybe you go into that full-time job, you can say, when I was in my internship, I did this and this and this, and it really taught me how to be a good leader. And that's what I want to do in my full-time job. And that'll be helpful for you as you go into that kind of next phase of your life. And then again, it can help you really get that foot in the door in a certain company. We keep saying that, but it's really important. If you really want a job at Target, get that internship at Target. And then you can learn if you really do like Target and the company and what they do. And then it'll just make you look so much better doing that, getting that full-time job or applying for that full-time job. And then just internships are really, really important in general because getting a paid internship can increase your job offers by 25%. So by the time that you graduate, you'll have like that much of an up on everybody else to look for that full-time job. Okay, so when do people do their internships? So usually they're most common during your junior year, like junior year going into senior year that summer. That's a big internship time. But they can be done as early as your first year. Depends. Some programs really want to get students while they're just starting out in college and keep them on. Some want to get students while they're just finishing. Just depends on the company, the program that you're looking at, the field. And then they can be done over the course of your semesters, over the summer term, or maybe during breaks. Sometimes companies offer short-term like Christmas internships just to really quick, just to get that experience. And then you can do them even longer than that. Just depends on where you are and if you really like your internship or not. So then where would you go to look for internships? You can go on, regular job sites. Hopefully y'all have heard any of them. LinkedIn's a really important one, really popular one that everybody uses. Glassdoor, some people use that. Indeed. If you're interested in nonprofits, you can do the Minnesota Council of Nonprofits if you are based in Minnesota or want to work in Minnesota. And then there's also Pollen Midwest for a lot of Midwest-based jobs. They're there. They post a lot of internships there as well. There's just a couple of job searching sites. I don't know if anybody has heard of any other ones. Then in the chat you have. But generally these are like the top ones. And then as students, there's also, oh, we got a heart, LinkedIn. Handshake. Yep. A lot of people are saying handshake for sure. And we will get into handshake. Oh, somebody said Robert Half. County websites and city websites. That's definitely options for sure. Especially if they're if they're more student-based, they do say explicitly on like county or city websites, like, oh, student internship or student-based internship. Definitely. That's a really good. Thanks for saying that, Randy. You can always check your county and city websites for sure. And let me clear the screen. Okay, and so yeah, for students, you can also do career fairs, especially ones that are hosted by your school. They usually have like, oh, government career fair or nonprofit career fair or tech career fair or business career fair, whatever kind of career fair. Maybe they might have a huge general school career fair. Those are really important. Those you can always go to and just learn more about a certain company. You can see what companies are there, who's hiring, what they're looking for. You can ask things there about like, oh, what's the company culture like? Or how much will I get paid? Or will I get paid? You can do all that at a career fair with a bunch of different organizations because there's a lot of them there. Also, yeah, use a thumbs up reaction if you've been to a career fair. I see a couple. Cool. And there's also city and state and national career fairs. Usually the national ones are more like virtual, especially these days, but you can go to like the city of Minneapolis career fair or the state career fair where they have like specific tech-centered ones, but there's career fairs in those levels, and there's also career fairs for demographics. So maybe it's like there's a Hispanic career fair or African-American career fair or Asian-American career fair or students of color career fair, or maybe students who are science majors career fair or STEM career fair. There's different kinds of career fairs all over the place. But if you're really, really interested in working in a company even or a field, there's also company career fairs and their recruitment events. A lot of times they go to universities and they just kind of host information sessions about themselves and what opportunities they have coming up. So all these kinds of career fairs. So definitely take career fairs seriously and take advantage of them. I went to a couple as well when I was in college, and they were super useful for me too. It was just a way for me to start getting to talk to people and talking to professionals and getting an idea of where I would fit in. So definitely recommend career fairs. Whenever you see them, just, I would say, sign up immediately and just show up. Even if you're not super serious about looking for a position, just walking around and talking to people and getting an eye out for what's out there can be really, really helpful. And then if there is that one company that you're really, really passionate about, maybe if it is Target or Best Buy or something, you can go to their specific recruitment events that they have. And I'm sure you can find that on their websites as well. So career fairs, you can always find internships and opportunities there. And then also career centers or internship centers, and especially Handshake. Nowadays, Handshake is super popular. So you can find a lot of internship positions there. Companies always post on universities' handshakes, but your career centers, super important. They also have a lot of information, especially like resumes, cover letters. Sometimes you need that for internships. That can be really, really helpful too. You can also ask your professors. Sometimes they have positions that they like know somebody who works there, or sometimes especially professors, they need like research assistants. That can be really helpful too. That's still experience, especially if you're considering maybe going to grad school. That can be really, really helpful and just always looks good to be working with somebody in that field. Also your advisors, your academic department coordinators, any program coordinators that you know of at your university. You can ask your College Possible coaches. They might have some you don't know about. So you can ask pretty much anybody that you all are connected with, but I would heavily emphasize Handshake. Handshake is very important, like you all mentioned. And even just like taking you have some random free time during the middle of the day, just stop into your career center and see what signs they have posted of any positions, or if you can talk to somebody real quick about getting an internship for the summer. Always things you can always go and talk about. You can never not over plan for an internship. You don't have to be wanting to do one right now. You can always just have something in mind and ask people about it and see what they have to tell you. Maybe they might say, maybe you're interested in doing an internship over the next fall, and you just walk into the career center and you ask, what should I do? And they can say, oh, well, maybe you should do this and this. Or maybe they can say, you probably should start applying now because those are really competitive, or something like that. But you never really know about your field or your career or your or that space unless you ask and you start doing research. So, oh, somebody just said resources for Century students. Yeah, always go to your career fairs and career centers. They always have good knowledge and good information there for you. And let's see, send a Y in the chat if you all have been to universities' career centers. Let's see it. A Y, just one Y. Lots of Ys. Happy to see those Ys. Take advantage of your career fair, of your career centers, you all. Definitely take advantage of them. They have lots and lots of information, and you won't get it unless you go. Oops. And you won't get it unless you go. Yes, virtually. Virtually still counts. Virtually still counts going to career centers. A lot of times career centers also have access to alums, people that they know of, and your universities or your colleges are pretty big. They have lots of students going for years and years. So they have access to all of their contact info sometimes, and they can connect you with somebody who works at a certain company or who is in this field. Or maybe you're like, I actually want to be my own business owner. Do you know anybody who does that? And your university, your career center can say, oh, we know a couple of students, and they can connect you with them. So they have lots and lots and lots of information specifically directed at people like you and students who went to your university. And it just gives it that like extra personal touch. So super helpful. Go to your career centers. Can't say enough. Do it even if you're not super serious about doing your job search or your internship search right now. It's always a good option. Go to your career fairs or career centers and see what they have available or what they can help you out with. I cannot overemphasize it enough. Go to your career centers, because a lot of times students don't go and they end up getting like lost, but they have such great information there and they have so many good contacts. Go to your career centers. Do it. If you haven't been, do it this week or do it next week, but just go. All right, so some important tips when you want to do your internships. You're like, okay, actually, I want to take this a little bit more seriously. Where should I start? What should I do? So we would say what we emphasize and what we really advise our students is to do networking. Networking is gold. When we say networking, we say we mean like reaching out to somebody who works at that company who you're really interested in and asking them for a meeting. Especially right now, take advantage of virtual opportunities, since everybody has been online for a while and everybody's really used to Zoom and Google Meets and Teams and just meeting online. It's super easy to just say like, hey, you work at Target. I'm really interested in interning with them in their supply chain program department. Could you help me out in learning more about it? So that's really easy way to go about it. People are always online now, so it's never not a good option to just ask somebody if they'd be willing to meet with you for maybe half an hour, maybe 15 minutes, maybe an hour. But you can always ask somebody, hey, can you meet virtually so we can talk about X and X for a few minutes? And it's super easy, but you can always do it. So take advantage of networking. You can send an email, you can go on LinkedIn. And you can also do alumni networks. So like I said before, your career centers have access to all these people that have been a part of university who have like been through your same programs, and you took some classes. So they can help you connect with those kind of folks. There's always huge alumni networks at universities, and you can always reach out to them. And usually if you say like, oh, if you go to your, let's pretend you're at Augsburg, you go to Career Center, you say, hey, I'm really interested in speaking with somebody who is who's a doctor right now, and I really want to know what their field or their career path was like. Your alumni center can, your career center can say, oh, we actually have a couple of doctors who we're connecting with who came to the Augsburg. We can connect you to them and we can reach out. We can ask them that in that way. And you can also use LinkedIn. So we mentioned LinkedIn as a place to look for internships, but you can also use it as a portfolio, as a way to present yourself to other people, to other companies, recruiters who are looking for individuals for internships. You can also use LinkedIn as a way to look for those people, those folks who work at different companies. When you go on LinkedIn, if you haven't used it, you can just make an account. It's kind of like Facebook, except more professional. And you can go on LinkedIn, you can just start to type in Target, and then it'll show you a bunch of people who work at Target. And you can kind of stalk them, but not really do your research on them. And you can figure out if they are somebody who you might be interested in talking to. And that's another way that you can do informational interviews. So maybe, again, you go on LinkedIn, you say, I want to talk to somebody who works at Target. Type in Target, and then you can just figure out maybe 2 or 3 people you want to talk to, reach out to them. You can send a little note. You can say, hey, I'm looking for an informational interview. I really want to work at Target, but I'm not sure where to start. I'm wondering how you got your start there. You can just ask, do you have like 30 minutes for an informational interview? This way you save your time and your energy. You can just ask. And you don't have to start applying everywhere. You can kind of ask first in these positions or these companies and see if it would be, sounds like a good fit for you. You can save your time there instead of like applying everywhere. And there's also no risk just asking somebody for an informational interview. The worst they can say is no. And that's kind of sucky, but it's fine. But at least you put your foot out there, you put yourself out there, you asked and you tried. And also just doing informational interviews just gets you building and developing your professional network, and having a really broad professional network is super important because that might be a way where you can find jobs later in the future. So that's a good way to do it. You can also, if you're really interested in like Best Buy, you really want to work at Best Buy, you want to work in their corporate headquarters, you can look their staff up, you can look up the organization, you can see who they have. Sometimes they have their contact info there on their websites. You can say, oh, I really want to work in the business acquisition department at Target. Then they have their staff list. You can email them and just ask. So you can always look people up. LinkedIn is really, really, really useful tool. We can always look at their organizations or their company's websites and see their staff and see if you'd be interested in speaking with them. You can always just send a quick email. Yeah, so I would say somebody asked you to recommend looking at a company's website. If you're really interested in that company, I would say yes. If you're really interested in Best Buy, if you're really interested in Target or Google, look at their website and look at their career page and see what it says, see what information you get from there. You can also check LinkedIn. LinkedIn is super important as well. You can do Glassdoor. So many websites you can check. But starting with that company's website is a really good start. So, okay, let's say you're like, okay, I'm going to take my next steps. I really want to take advantage of speaking with other people. Especially right now, since we're virtual and it's super easy to reach other people. How can I do that? So you can start by sending a quick little email. So how to ask for an informational interview or speak with somebody, you can just say, here's an example that we use. You can say, hello, Tom. I put Ellie. My name is Ellie Kim, and I'm a junior at Augsburg University studying marketing. I'm really interested in your company and career path, and I'd love to speak with you virtually about this. You can say, I'm generally available on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. Please let me know if that works for you. Thanks so much. So you just say like, hey, my name is so-and-so. I'm a junior at this university. I'm studying this. I'm really interested in your company. I'm really interested in your career. I'm really interested in this project that you're working on, and I want to speak with you virtually about it. Do you have time to meet? Generally say like, I'm free Mondays or Fridays in the morning, the afternoons, and let me know if that works for you. And you can just speak with them in that sense. So it'd be like 3-4 sentences, super quick. And you can just reach out to a bunch of people that can sue. So how do you know who to contact within the company? So LinkedIn is a really, really good source for that. You can say, if you really want to talk to somebody who works at, what's that company around here, who works at Optum, and they do marketing, and you want to do marketing, you can just kind of reach out. It's kind of like reaching out in the dark sometimes. Sometimes they have like a specific recruiter person or HR person. That's always a good person to get in contact with, their HR. You can say, I want to speak to somebody that does marketing. Can you connect me with somebody there? And they might be able to do that for you. Sometimes it's just identifying people that you really want to talk to, identifying their backgrounds and where they came from and what they do, and saying, this is a good person I want to talk to. You just kind of reach out of the blue. It is kind of like that. So you can search for the company on LinkedIn and you can reach out to people there. Or you can also look for their emails on their websites. Usually they're listed there. And it's kind of like, you just kind of do it out of nowhere. But it can work useful for you, or sometimes people get back to you really quick. Sometimes really super excited to meet with you, or sometimes they're gonna take a while to get back to you. But reaching out is just that first step. And maybe if you really do want to work at Target and you're like, who should I speak to there? You can always start with your career center. Maybe they know somebody who works at Target who can get you that foot in the door there as well, who can give you a good contact. So I would say first steps, figure out what field you want to do, what field you're interested in, what company you're interested in, and then do your own research. And that includes going into career centers, and we can give you a lot of more details there. Yeah, but this intro email or this asking permission or interviews email doesn't have to be super long. You don't have to put your whole life story. You can just say, I'm looking for information on your career, your company, and I'd love to speak with you about it. So it doesn't be too long, it can be pretty short. Okay, so now we're gonna get into UpTurnships, what we do.
Yeah, so hopefully Breeze has convinced you that you need to do an internship and you're really excited, but you don't know where to start. So we're going to talk about our program, where we come from, which is called UpTurnships. So we're a nonprofit and we work with underrepresented and under-resourced college students to help you guys get work experience, and we provide training along the way. So this is how all our programs are designed. There are 3 components. There's the work experience component, which is what you typically think of when you think of an internship. So you're working with a company, you're, I don't know, analyzing data, making social media posts, doing business things. So you're building and using professional skills and technical skills that you need to perform these tasks. And then another component of our program is our training. So the training is either weekly or bi-weekly, depending on the program that you're in. And we talk about things like networking, and you have an opportunity to practice networking. We'll talk about interviewing, workplace culture. You'll do some assessments about your professional self so that you can talk about yourself during an interview. And this is a place where you can meet you can meet peers, you can meet other upturns, and you can really start to build your professional network. And then the last part of our program model is our program coaches. So these are volunteers who have been in the professional corporate workforce for many, many years. And they will work with you one-on-one throughout the program to make sure that you're supported in your work experience. So if you ever have like a situation at your internship that you're not really sure how to navigate, you can talk to your program coach about that. If you just need someone to celebrate with because you did a really good job and you just need someone to talk about that with, you can talk about that with your program coach. Or if you, let's go with the Target example, you want to work for Target, but you're not really sure how to start, there's a chance that your program coach might know someone who works at Target and they can put you in contact. Our program coaches all have really extensive networks, and they're always more than willing to use those networks to help our students. So that's another really great benefit of our program. So the work experience when you're in our UpTurnships program is always paid. So we don't believe in unpaid work when you're a student. You know that you have tuition, bills, all that kind of stuff. And it really depends on the program how much you're paid, but it's normally between $15 to $23 an hour. And the work experience is obviously, like I said, you're using and building those technical skills that you need to be successful after you graduate. And when you're at your work experience, like Lisa's has been talking about, you can make those connections with your supervisors and your coworkers. They can be references for you later on for other jobs, or they might be able to connect you to other opportunities for internships or other job offers that they know about. And this is a snapshot of some of our employer partners this past summer. So there are some really big companies that you have probably heard of, like Optum, Tradition Capital Bank, BI Worldwide is also very big. And then there's some smaller companies or smaller nonprofits like Women Ventures, a nonprofit. You most likely have heard of Capri Theater. They are a theater. So you can see there's a really wide range of industries and fields, and like profit or nonprofit, big organizations versus small organizations. But we partner with all of them, and this list is constantly changing. So if you are accepted into our program, you may not work with one of these companies because we're always adding employer partners that we're working with. So our going back to our training. So our trainings are really meant to be collaborative and discussion based. So we want you to build those soft skills that you're not really talking about in your college classes. And you get to make some friends and meet your peers. And your program coach will actually come into the training space to do your one-on-ones with you. And these trainings are required alongside your work experience. It's part of our program. We think it's really, really important for your success. So it is required. And then the last part of our program model, again, is our program coach. So they'll be your advocate. They might mentor you sometimes. They'll give you advice and support, which you don't necessarily need to follow that advice, but it's sometimes just good to have someone to bounce ideas off of, or have someone to give you a framework for what's normal and what's not normal. So just having that is really helpful. And this is another snapshot of our summer 2021 coaches. So you can see there's a wide range of experiences here. So Julie Burrows, she's one of the co-founders of UpTurnships. She has a really long corporate history, I think with, I want to say Kellogg or Pillsbury or something like that. And Kathy, she got like her bachelor's in geology and Chinese studies, and then went on to get her MBA. She has a really interesting history. And you can just see there's like some CEOs, VPs, or presidents, people who have held really high positions in companies. So these are the kind of people that you'll have available to you to be your advocate and work with you individually. And this slide just kind of tells you what UpTurnships is compared to a traditional internship. So with a traditional internship, you have your paid work experience, and that's pretty much it. They'll kind of train you on how to do that work that you need to do for the internship, but there isn't much development beyond that. Whereas with UpTurnships, you have that paid work experience, and then you also have professional development training. You have assessments that you'll take as part of the training. You'll have access to our whole network of alumni and your peers as well, and your program coach, and then UpTurnship staff too. So if you're having some issues with your internship supervisor and you want to talk about that with someone, you could talk about that with me too. And I will point out, on the left, it says paid work experience. It's not always paid. Sometimes it's unpaid. With us, it's always paid. So let's say you're really interested in UpTurnships. You think that you really want to be a part of our program. I'm going to talk a little bit more specifically about what we're recruiting for next year. So we have two programs. We have spring and summer. So in the spring, we have Upstart projects. So that's a project internship or a mini internship with one of our employers, and that's 40 hours total, about 5 hours a week for 8 weeks, and that's paid with a $1,000 stipend. So this is really designed for college students who are taking like a full course load, and maybe you have another part-time job and you just want something small to help you continue getting professional work experience. This is really meant for you. We have trainings every Monday for 2 hours, and the opportunities are a little bit more focused. So we have computer science, we have some sales, accounting, marketing, business, human resources. And projects is really great for students who maybe you don't have a ton of experience, but you really just want to start exploring your options and the different fields and industries that are available to you with your major. But juniors and seniors, you're totally welcome to apply for projects too. We have multiple juniors and seniors in the program right now. And then on the right, we have our summer flagship internship. So this is our main program. It runs May 31st to August 12th, right before you guys go back to classes. And this is what you kind of think of when you think of an internship. So it's full-time, about 40 hours a week, and you're paid hourly with our employer partners. And then these trainings are actually full-day trainings, and they'll replace your working days at your internship. So you won't go more than like 40 hours a week. And we have a wide range of opportunities for this. So we have a lot of sales positions. We have human resources. We have engineering for the first time. We have actuarial sciences for the first time. We have what we typically offer, like in business marketing, data analytics, all that and more. And then The internship is really best for juniors and seniors because sometimes they like to see a little bit more coursework or a little bit more experience, but sophomores are totally, you're totally welcome to apply as well. And this is our training calendar for the 2 programs. So on top we have spring. So you can see we have weekly trainings on Monday, 3 to 5 p.m. And those project days, you won't be working on every single one of those days. Your schedule for projects is really determined by you and your supervisor, kind of whenever your schedules coincide or whenever you want to work on your project outside of your meetings with them. And then on the bottom, you have our flagship training calendar. So we have 4 days of training right after Memorial Day. And then for flagship, every day that is gray is a day that you'll be working like a full day, most likely. And then you have a full day trainings kind of every other week throughout the summer. And then it ends right before you guys have to go back to class. So you have like most likely like 2 to 3 weeks before you go back to class, kind of depending on where you go to college. Okay, so let's say you're still interested in UpTurnships, those dates work for you, those areas work for you. We're going to talk about the application process because it is a little bit more complicated. So if you are a sophomore, junior, senior in college, and you're based out of Minnesota, which I think at least based on the beginning where everyone's putting their college, all of you are, and you're looking for professional experience in one of our target areas. So unfortunately, we don't really typically work with like nursing or like medical field. It's normally like business internships that we have. So if you're looking for experience in one of those fields and you're really motivated to growing your skills and building your resume and building your network, but maybe you just don't know where to start or how to start, and you're part of one of the underrepresented or under-resourced groups. So if you are like a minority, or if you're like a female working in a male-dominated field, if you are Pell Grant eligible, we would love to work with you. We have a lot of first-generation college students, so maybe you're the first in your family to get a bachelor's degree. You obviously don't have to meet all of these criteria, but if you meet one of them, you will be eligible to participate in our program. So the application process. So the first one is attending a virtual info session, which as participants of this group here, you've done this already, so kudos to you. And then the second step is submitting an application on our website. And this is just like a typical form. I'll put a link to it in the chat. And it should take probably like less than 10 minutes to complete. And it just has you put in your interest areas, your demographic information, and also your resume. Your resume doesn't need to be perfect, just whatever you have on your computer, whatever you have like on your Google Drive or your desktop or whatever is totally fine. We just want to see kind of where you're at. And then we'll look at your application and decide if you're a good fit for our program. So if you are, you'll move on to the next step, which is an online learning module. And it talks about how to really polish up your resume so it looks really, really good, how to present yourself professionally. And all that online learning is really for your benefit so that you're really prepared and ready to move on in the application. Because the next step is actually you'll be paired with an interview and resume coach. So this is another volunteer who's a professional, and they will help you update your resume. They'll look at it and give you feedback, and then they'll also help you with your interviewing skills. So they'll go over how to come up with a really good interview answer, and they'll kind of mock interview you and go over some questions with you and kind of make sure that you're really prepared for the interviewing process. And once you're totally done working with them, your application is done. Yay. And then you'll be eligible to be matched to projects or interview with employers for internships. So I talked about those 2 programs, the spring program projects. There's no interview, you're just matched to your opportunities. And then for internships, you will be matched with employers to interview. So that's why we have you going over those interviewing skills, because you'll have to really impress them to get those opportunities. So once you're done and you're all good to go, you'll be notified if you're matched to a project, or you'll be notified if you are matched to employers for those interviews. And we do this all via email. So it's really important that if you're a part of our program, part of our application process, that you keep an eye on that email. I know sometimes it's hard as college students. You guys have a lot going on. You have a lot of emails, but it is kind of, we want to set you up for success. Once you enter your internship, and that is how a lot of companies and organizations do most of their communication, through email, not like calling or texting. So we just want to make sure that you're prepared for that. And our application is open. So if you click that link, that form is live. Our priority deadline is Friday, November 5th. And like our kind of final deadline is the 21st of January, but it really benefits you all to apply as soon as possible because these positions are filled on a rolling basis. So if you apply earlier, you'll be eligible to match to more opportunities. And Fatima said in the chat, do you think these internships you mentioned will be beneficial for someone who is going into teaching? So that's a good question. I think it depends on like what grade level you're interested in teaching, because I know like K through 5 can have some specific requirements versus if you just want to be like a high school teacher. I know that it can be kind of different sometimes. I think having experience in general is very beneficial. So you could apply for other internships and apply for UpTurnships. That's totally fine. You just need to let us know if you decide to accept another opportunity so that we can take you out of consideration for our internships. But I think like Breeza might be able to answer that question more, or maybe the College Possible people too. I'm not really sure. Sorry. I'm not a teacher. Are there any other questions? Oh, sorry, Cody, did you want to answer that question?
Fatima, I think a great place to start is to talk with your academic advisor and discuss like what value having an internship that broadens your experience could mean in your like career future. That might have a lot to do with, yeah, your specialty or the grade level that you're working with. But I think that as you talk with other professionals or educators in the field, they might help you think about how experiences that you're getting in an internship and in specific internship areas may translate really, really well into how you manage a classroom, how you think about projects that many teachers are taking on. And there's a lot of transferable skills that come into that. So I think the best person to turn to is somebody that you trust in your profession, or if you have an advisor or professor that you really have a connection to, and bring that conversation to them.
Nice, yeah. Yeah, and I think like Cody mentioned, like if you are interested in being like a tech teacher at a high school or something, we could definitely have opportunities that would benefit you. If you wanted to be like a grade school teacher, maybe they wouldn't be as beneficial for you. Are there any other questions about UpTurnships or internships? Just because I know sometimes this might interest you, we have secured some opportunities with Minnesota Twins, which I think is pretty cool because they're like professional sports team. And then we're doing engineering positions for the first time with the Polad companies and sales as well. That's the end of our presentation. If you don't have any other questions, I guess we can turn it back over to the College Possible team.
Thank you so much, Breeza and Ellie, for sharing your knowledge and your experience, as well as your really specific opportunities with UpTurnships. I'll just say this, College Possible, we've been partnering closely with UpTurnships for a number of years, and we've had quite a few of our students participate as UpTurns and have really expressed that this has been an incredibly valuable experience. And so know that many of your peers have had the opportunity to work within this program. We partner so closely that our staff actually moves back and forth. Some of our former College Possible staff are at UpTurnships as well. And so we really value this relationship and this partnership. And that's why we wanted to bring their expertise, knowledge, and opportunities to all of you through this event today. So I will say, if you have any more questions about the content that we've gone over in this training, please throw it in the chat, come off mute. There are just a few housekeeping things that we're going to cover looking forward, and then we'll be wrapping up, but don't want to stifle any questions or conversations that are existing. So while I get a couple of links ready, I'm going to be quiet to see if questions come up. All right, y'all. I just dropped a feedback survey to this event in the chat. We'd love your feedback. We're always looking to hear what your experience is in our events. Please take the time to fill that out. We'll also be following up with some additional resources. So be on the lookout for a follow-up email from this event. It'll include the recording, or access to the recording of this. If there's anything you want to go back and see, it will include links to the resources that Breeza and Ellie have shared out for UpTurnships, and also one more chance for you to fill out our survey. I want to just plug where we're headed in our College Possible Career Readiness series. Coming up in February, we're going to have our next event. We're going to be bringing together alumni from College Possible who are serving in a variety of different sectors within their careers. We're looking for folks who are 5 to 10 years out from college graduation, and looking to give the opportunity for all of you to connect with peers from College Possible who are now out of college and in the workforce. So we'll be looking to bring a wide variety of alumni representing diverse sectors. So be on the lookout to your email, talk with your coaches when that opportunity arises. We're still locking down the exact date and time and the different career fields that will be available. But it's a fun opportunity to hear from different folks who have made that transition out of college, how their career journey has shaped. And they are people who really are excited about networking and building those connections with all of you as well. So it's an opportunity to connect specifically with folks who are in career fields that you're interested in. Those invites will be going out in January, so be on the lookout for that. In the meantime, continue to talk with your college coaches about career readiness and opportunities that we have available with College Possible and through our partners. And thank you to all of you who came today. I know that taking the time to join a Zoom call when you're going to class and engaging in all your responsibilities as a student is a big commitment. So I just really want to say thank you so much. We really appreciate having you here. We'll hang out if anybody has questions or want to just talk a little bit more one-on-one. We're going to be here for a little while. But with that, thank you and have a wonderful evening.